Berlin Memorandum on Good Practices for Countering Terrorist Use of Unmanned Aerial Systems. An unmanned aerial system, or UAS, is an aerial vehicle without a human pilot on board. UAS are currently being used for various beneficial purposes. However, these systems can also be used by terrorists. To date, this has been relatively rare, but rapid technological advances and growing UAS availability have increased both the possibility and potential impact of such use. It is therefore important to anticipate and prepare for the rising threat of terrorist use of UASs. States may need guidance in developing the relevant technological expertise, legislation, and countermeasures, as well as a plan for the required infrastructure at governmental and local level. For this purpose, the Global Counterterrorism Forum, or GCTF, has adopted the Berlin Memorandum on Good Practices for Countering Terrorist Use of Unmanned Aerial Systems. Where should states begin, and what do they need to focus on? As a starting point, governments need to create robust national legal and policy frameworks for the use of UAS. This includes implementing detection, counter, and mitigation measures. These need to be in place before UAS-related incidents happen. To ensure effectiveness of the regulations, they should apply to the users, producers, vendors, and exporters of UAS. When developing these regulations, cooperation and information exchange with partner states is likely to be much more beneficial than a unilateral approach. Once the frameworks and various measures are in place, it is important to constantly and actively monitor all relevant UAS developments and innovations. Why is this important? States should be one step ahead in adopting new technologies, as they can be used for both good and bad purposes. What is the next step after the adoption of a legal framework? Communication is crucial. Policies and regulations need to be communicated clearly and regularly to the general public. This is because they apply to any use of UAS, including recreational use. Good and frequent communication can help prevent UAS fatigue. People can easily forget about the rules or be unaware of the risks, which can lead to reduced public reporting or neglect of early warning signs in case of dangerous UAS use. The next step is cooperation. The adoption, implementation, and communication of necessary measures are not sufficient on their own. Cooperation between the stakeholders on a local, national, and international level is fundamental in countering the terrorist use of UAS. An important part of this step is to assess whether these stakeholders have the required ability and training to do so. Training should include understanding and defending against the terrorist use of UAS, but also crisis management and investigation strategies following an incident involving a UAS. Practically speaking, how should countermeasures be implemented if an attack occurs? During countermeasure development and implementation stages, governments should work closely with civil aviation authorities, national defense forces, and private industries. The range of adopted countermeasures can include kinetic and non-kinetic measures. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. Tailored solutions are more appropriate. States should keep in mind that the terrorist use of UAS not only makes them vulnerable on the ground, but also in the air. Finally, states must ensure that all measures fully comply with their obligations under applicable domestic and international law to avoid negative side effects. This GCTF initiative and the resulting good practices should only mark the beginning of states' efforts to counter the threat posed by terrorist use of UASs. You can read the full text of the Berlin Memorandum at www thegctf.org.